Vancouver. I think if we could do anything for David, if I could do one thing for him, I would probably get prohibition decriminalized.
Thanks, Marijuana Man. I'll get you to pay my first ticket. So, Marijuana Man organized this little gathering, and he said, "So we're gonna fry Mark Emery. We're gonna fry Mark Emery. Think of some really embarrassing things for him." And then he went over to Mark and said, "This is a roast, right, Mark?" And Mark said, "That's not a roast. This is just honoring me. There's no roasting involved." And I'm like, okay. And then Marijuana Man comes back to me and says, "Oh, think of some embarrassing things to say about everyone else, too, because you know how roast goes." So I look around the room, and then I thought to myself, everybody who Mark hires, everybody, and I'm being totally serious here, are some of the most incredible people I've ever met. They work long hours for shitty pay, and they always get hassled by the stupidest questions. Can I buy marijuana here? Where do I buy marijuana? Can you just score a little bit of marijuana for me and I need it later? Day in and day out, and without complaint. And they work long hours, like really long hours. Like, I remember my first job working for Mark was to go buy a refrigerator for the magazine staff so we could work there and not leave. So it just, there's the food there, the bathroom there, you can sleep in that corner. But, and I'm sure he works everybody here just as hard today. And I don't have anything embarrassing to say about the staff here. They're amazing. Mark, on the other hand. Again, not really a roast, because in order for it to be a roast, you have to embarrass Mark, and I can't think for the life of me anything that would embarrass Mark Emery. Seriously, he's proud of the most things that would embarrass you or me or an average person. Mark is proud of. But I can think of some amusing stories, maybe one or two. I started being a pot activist in Edmonton in 1993. And, we had no money. And being a pot activist with no money is pretty pathetic. You say, okay, we're going to have a big smoke-in. And you have a couple of pinners there. And you're like, smoking proud and tough, and it's already out. And then I get this newsletter in the mail, a bunch of newsletters for free, to grassroots Edmonton, and I open it up, and there's this asshole telling everybody else in the movement that they're total amateurs. Who's this capitalist pig that's better than all of the rest of us? And I was a socialist. I still am. I don't really trust capitalists. I think that sometimes the way you make money and sometimes the way you spend money isn't all that ethical. So I was unconvinced. But then, again, I was also trying to sell my magazine, Pot Shot, and it wasn't selling all that good. But Mark offered to buy 300 copies. Okay, I'll give this capitalist thing one more try. And so I kept buying the magazines back. He started sending me the money beforehand so I could go print my magazine. And I was like, this guy's all right. And then one of the first times I ever got an email was from Mark with a job offer. Cool, I like this email stuff. This is good, technology. And he flew me out to Vancouver, and suddenly, instead of making $10 an hour or $5 an hour working at a drugstore, I was making like $10 an hour plus all the weed I could smoke. And it was good. It was, instead of the rallies being, like $100 budget, it was a $6,000 budget. I'm playing in the big leagues now. Let's see. Oh, yeah. I remember the time my mother first met Mark Emery. And my mom is a very feminist woman. And I was just sitting there with my fingers crossed saying, don't talk about anal sex. Don't talk about anal sex. Please don't talk about anal sex. And he didn't. He did not embarrass me in front of my mother. Fantastic, and from then on I loved Mark Emery. because he knew when to talk about anal sex and when not to talk about it.
You make it sound like it's my trump card or something.
I'm not saying that. You also talked about oral sex. I'm not saying you're a one-trick pony, Mark. But, but I mean, that's the thing I like about Mark Emery is he's full-on liberty. I mean, why should we be embarrassed about pleasure? And Mark is definitely not embarrassed about any of his pleasures, and he investigated all of them very thoroughly, from what I understand. He also called himself an anarchist in a High Times article. And I used that to be the Mark Emery issue of the Potshot magazine, Potshot number 12. I called it the anarchist employer issue. And people ask me about that. Are you saying that Mark Emery is an anarchist? And I'm like, well, not really. He's an anarchist employer, which means he employs a lot of anarchists. But Mark likes to still have the deciding vote in any decision involving Mark Emery. And the way he operates is he'll fire you, and if enough people come and speak up on your behalf, he might consider rehiring you later. But that's the way Mark works, and I respect that. I've been fired many times by him, and I think he was justified every time. Yeah, but that's okay, It's sometimes difficult to pick up the expendable crew members and say, sorry, you got to bite it to the bullet, or to tell everybody they have to take a cut and pay, but that's tough decisions, and Mark makes them very well. But, it's not easy. It's not easy doing Mark's job, I must say. The only other possibly amusing story I could think about is when I had a naked hot tub with Mark one time. I could not believe just how far down it hung. I had never seen a scrotum like that in my life. And other people say they have big balls, but I know for a fact, this man has the biggest balls on earth. He's got to have special underwear or something. But, and he's not embarrassed. Look at him. He's not even turning red. Jody a little bit, but not much. I'd just like to add one final thought, and that is in this book I read called Rules for Radicals by Saul Alinsky. He reminds people who are just fighting the good fight and doing important work